I didn't grow up in the Angus business. My mom and dad had a very small commercial cow-calf operation. That's where I kind of developed a passion for cattle and had the opportunity to work. But we weren't seed stock breeders, and we certainly weren't Angus breeders. And when I went to work for the Missouri Angus Association, my wife and I were renting a little house, and I bought 4 Angus cows, and we didn't have any lease ground, or we didn't own any ground. That little rental house had about a 3/4 of an acre yard with it, and we turned those 4 Angus cows out in the yard and asked permission later, I guess you might say, from the landlord. But
That's a Head On. We Live It, the live ag podcast. From seed stock bull sales built on generations of performance to commercial video auctions backed by real relationships to equipment auctions that keep operations moving forward. Live Ag connects cattle producers to opportunity. Quality cattle deserve premium prices. The right bulls deserve more buyers, and dependable equipment deserves a fair bid. Whether you're consigning to a Live Ag video auction, marketing seed stock, or moving iron through the equipment exchange, we combine local representation with nationwide reach. Connect with your Live Ag rep by scanning the code on your screen, or visit us online at live-ag.com. We are proud to be powered by Biozyme, the makers of VitaFirm and Gain Smart, value-added nutrition partners trusted by cattle producers across the country. Now, here are your hosts, Ty D. Cordova and Casey Mabry.
Welcome back to the We Live It podcast. Casey couldn't be here today. He's down in San Antonio with the kiddos showing hogs. But I'm joined today with Josh Worthington from Worthington Angus out of Dadeville, Missouri. Did I say that right, Josh?
that's right.
Well,
Dadeville,
Josh, we
Missouri,
want
in the
to welcome you
southwest corner.
to the program. Kind of fill us in, Josh, your background, your family, kind of what that all looks like. We're pretty big on talking about family and kiddos on here. We kind of like to talk about our show animals and all that. Me and Casey bounce back and forth to that a lot. So kind of fill us in on what all you got going there.
Yeah, so probably a lot like you, our life revolves around kids too right now, and a lot of playing basketball. Seems like we're at a gym somewhere every night. Got 2 boys in high school, so and 1 more in junior high, and he's kind of playing on the weekends, and they play. It seems like almost every night of the week, or we're at church or something, but gone all the time. So in a similar fashion, we're chasing kids all the time. As you mentioned, my wife and our 3 boys live here in Dadeville, Missouri. It's in the southwest corner of the state. That's always been our home, and my wife and I grew up, went to school here. We're high school sweethearts. She's the only girl I've ever dated, and tell people I like to get it right the first time and just leave it at that. So really fortunate there. We were apart for just a little while. We went to college, different colleges, and got married shortly after college, and started raising a family. And I'd spent a lot of time in FFA growing up, and was really active doing that. Actually got to serve as the state FFA president here in Missouri in 1999. Ag education, those things are really vitally important to us. And went on to Missouri State University and actually got a degree in ag education. Was going to go be an ag teacher, and kind of just right at the 9th hour had an offer to go back, and had a donor pay for us to go to grad school and teach some classes there in the beef department, help with their beef program. And that kind of launched us into the career we enjoyed for 11 years, working for Missouri Angus Association as their general manager. So that was kind of the start of who we are and kind of where we come from.
So you started your career at the Missouri Angus Association. So you've had a passion for genetics for a long time, it sounds like. And
Yeah, I think genetics have played a vital role, obviously, in building Worthington Angus. I think at that time when I started working for Missouri Angus Association, it was really this concept that could go out and work with people. I wanted to be involved in the cattle business, and it's a little bit what took me down the road of an ag education degree was the adults in my life growing up that I'd seen really daily involved in agriculture and in cattle business were ag teachers. And so that just seemed like the logical fit for me was to keep trailing them. And when I had an opportunity to go back to Missouri State and work there with the beef program and get my graduate work done, that's when an opportunity came to go to work as the GM for Missouri Angus Association. And several people have heard the story, but when I applied for that job, my advisor was really just encouraging me to apply and maybe get an interview. And just to get some interview experience was really what we were going for. And got offered the job, and it was a dream job. And so, yeah, the genetic component of the cattle industry was important then, but when I took that job, it was more about connecting with people, serving that membership, just really kind of opening my eyes and scope to what the beef industry entailed. And so I'll forever be grateful for the time I got to spend there. It's a great group of people here in Missouri, and it's a really active state association. We actually had another full-time employee that helped me a lot and published monthly magazine and managed sales, went to all the shows for the membership and lots of herd visits, and just an opportunity to work for that membership, but also learn a lot from that membership.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. You know, like you said, you kept talking about the relationships that you built there, and then that has to, in turn, help doing what you're doing now. It's this industry is a relationship business. We talk about that all the time, but you also have to produce a good product. So let's kind of get in and talk about what you're producing, or what your goal is to produce, and how you see yourself in the future. But I forgot one thing before we get into that. You just was awarded the Young Angus Breeder of the Year award,
Yeah.
and kind of what does that mean to your family? What does that mean to your operation there?
Yeah. So, first, very unexpected. Uh, we were nominated by somebody else, and then got the call that we had been nominated and actually had received the award. Uh, I remember the call very well that came from Mark McCully, and I told him on the phone, "You will rarely find me not knowing what to say or kind of speechless," but I was legitimately kind of speechless in that moment, and a lot of it stems from just where our program began to then be recognized very kindly by the American Angus Association in that way. I didn't grow up in the Angus business. My mom and dad had a very small commercial cow-calf operation, and that's where I kind of developed a passion for cattle and had the opportunity to work. And but we weren't seed stock breeders, and we certainly weren't Angus breeders. And when I went to work for the Missouri Angus Association, my wife and I were renting a little house, and I bought 4 Angus cows, and we didn't have any lease ground, or we didn't own any ground. That little rental house had about a 3/4 of an acre yard with it, and we turned those 4 Angus cows out in the yard and asked permission later, I guess you might say, from the landlord. But
Let's say, how'd
um,
the landlord take that?
yeah, he was a cattle guy too. He was kind of scratching his head when he pulled in the next day, and I had the gate shut on the yard, and there were 4 cows walking around. My wife always loves to tell the story that she always enjoyed getting up before daylight in the morning to go to work and walking across the yard in a pair of open-toed shoes, and stepping in cow manure because they were literally in the yard. They just
Yeah,
surrounded the house, and but I say all that to say, to go from that point to getting a call from the CEO of the American Angus Association that you're going to be recognized as the National Young Breeder of the Year.
pretty
I
humbling.
circle back to say I was speechless. It was a very humbling moment, and made possible by all of our customers is
Yeah,
the reality, because Mark doesn't call me that day if it's not for all of our customers.
right, right.
I'm another guy out here with my name on a sign trying to sell some bulls, and our customers are what have allowed us to have the growth we've had and have the success that we've had, and given us opportunities to work for them and place our genetics in the beef industry. And so if it wasn't for those customers, we don't get that award. And so uh, I don't know that we necessarily deserved it, but I tell people that our customers work really, really hard every day, and they deserve that recognition. I'm very happy for them.
Talking about them, kind of fill us in on what a big picture of Worthington English when you started it. What was your vision? Did you vision where you're at now, or is this kind of, are you headed in to where you want to be, or kind of fill us in there a little bit?
Yeah, so there's a lot in that question. I mean, when we started the operation, Ty, just to back up, so as I mentioned, working for the Missouri Angus Association, I considered it my dream job. I got to
Hmm.
work for a great membership. I got to go to all the shows in Missouri and a lot of the national shows. I got to go manage a lot of sales and work the other sales. I mean, uh, if it happened in the state of Missouri and it was Angus related, I got to be there. I mean, what could be better? The issue became that as our family started growing and we had our first son, it was getting harder to leave. When my wife and I were first married, and I was leaving every, Friday afternoon to head out so weekends worth of sales and come back on Monday morning or something, she didn't really care whether I was gone for a few days or not. But when we had our first son, that got hard as he got older to leave. When we had our second son and first one was older, it was getting really hard to leave. And then when we knew we were going to have our third son, we had kind of started putting in place that exit strategy. That was critically important for us. It was difficult to leave a dream job, but My dad's told me my entire life, put God first, family second, everything else third. And so with that in mind, it was hard for me to be gone probably 40 weekends, 45 weekends a year at that time to sales, and be gone on Sundays when I wanted to be at church with the boys. And so that was the driving piece that made us say, dream job or not, we got to find the exit strategy. And so if you're going to leave your dream job, what the next thing you're going to, you don't want to downgrade, right? And so
Yeah.
what could be better than that? And, so we just started dreaming big, right? And figuring out, can we get into production agriculture? We'd been growing those 4 Angus cows a little bit over the time. When we bought them, I don't know that the goal in mind was, we're going to grow this seed stock operation, have multiple sales a year, and do all those things. Um, but as we saw a need for an exit strategy, that became the mission. We're going to grow this operation. So I say all that to get to the point that once we realized that was the mindset, our program always was built on the concept of how do we serve customers. And in particular, we've spent a lot of time focusing on our commercial bull customers. That's not to dismiss the folks that buy registered females or seed stock breeders that buy bulls here, because they do. But I knew that the industry from a commercial standpoint was huge, right? And the seed stock business was a really little piece of that. And so there was more opportunity to serve the commercial customer. And so we wanted to be tied to that. I'd seen that with operations from multiple breeds that have been around forever. They really did a good job of serving commercial producers. So as we started building the program and formulating the concept for the program, the tagline on our first ad said, "Discipline plus proven genetics creates value." And that discipline kind of represented who we were. We were very focused people. I certainly am. You don't start with 4 Angus cows and quit your day job when you're 33 if you're not going to be pretty laser focused on what you're trying to accomplish. The discipline was kind of about us. The proven genetics represented the cattle. We wanted to be able to deliver a product, and if we said it was a Cavanese bull, it had to be. If we said we could increase marbling, it had to be. And so proven genetics represented that. We thought if we were disciplined in our breeding decisions to use proven genetics, we could then create value. And so everything we've done has been based on that mantra. And we can kind of dive into more detail of what actually the specs of kind of the program are, but it was that mantra that built the program.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's kind of dive in on as far as your bulls. I mean, what are you really truly, what is your number one focus on them as far as, is it carcass? Is it maternal? What is it?
Yeah, and so first I would say there's not one focus.
Right.
It's the spectrum of the beef industry, because we serve a
Mhm.
lot of different customers, and a lot of those customers are small to mid-size in nature. So if they come here and buy a bull or two, that bull may need to be very well be all of those things you just listed. He may need to be the Cavanese bull, the growth bull, the maternal bull to make the replacements. And by the way, we're in the beef business, so he better be pretty good at carcass too, right? And at the
Yeah.
end of the day, that's what we're producing. And so uh, we kind of look at it, can we do all of those things? And we believe that we can. We have some different places where we dive into more detail and produce some genetic lines that are maybe more specified to a particular route, whether that's a maternal focus or a terminal focus, but we can do those things. We always talk about the fact we want a calf to calve easily, a cow to calve easily, to produce a calf that grows rapidly to a desired endpoint. And that's different for some of our customers. The desired endpoint for a customer in Southwest Missouri is different than the desired endpoint for one of our customers in Texas or Arizona or something like that. But we want them to grow rapidly to whatever the desired endpoint is that our customer has identified. We want them to then produce as high a quality carcass as they possibly can. And that's a big nucleus of what we've built this program on, is the fact that we know all of the product we help produce through our bulls is going to be beef that ends up on somebody's plate. It's an eating experience, and it has to be a really good eating experience every single time. We take our responsibility as a genetic supplier to do that very, very seriously. So after those cattle calve easily, they grow rapidly to a desired endpoint, they produce the highest quality carcass possible. We want them to leave a set of daughters in the herd that not only replicate the process we just described, but improve it every year. We don't buy replacements. The mates to these bulls are the next generation of cows here, and they have to get better with every generation. They have to work on fescue. They have to breed AI out on pasture in about 60 days. We give them those specs, that job to do. And if they can't do that, then they enter the supply chain and become beef for someone.
You answered a lot of my other questions all right there in one deal. So, but
Yeah.
that's good. And the next one, I was focusing on your cow-calf producers, I mean, what feedback have you got from them as far as performance from your calf crops and all that kind of? Do you have that?
Yeah, and I appreciate the question, and it's fun to talk about because it's different from customers. Just like
You bet.
there's some variety in the bulls we offer, there's also variety in those customers and what they're actually after. And so when we get feedback from customers, the first thing we're trying to figure out is, we have notes on what they came here to get. And so when we're following up with them, the first question feedback we want to know is, did we deliver what they came to acquire? So if that was a calving ease bull or two that they put out on a set of heifers, when we're following up with them, how'd calving season go? Did those calves come unassisted? Did they perform like we said they were going to? We're confident the answer to that's going to be yes, but you don't know until you ask the question. And so we want all that feedback. We have other customers that are retaining ownership on those cattle all the way through on the grid. We're looking at kill data from them. They have a very specific spec that they're trying to improve upon or reach, whether that's marbling, ribeye, carcass weight. So we can look at that data and see if we're meeting the metrics that they came in here trying to accomplish. You can't really fulfill anybody's desire and meet their needs if you don't know what the needs are, and then you don't know if you met them or not if you're not asking the question. If you don't have the follow up. We're not a huge operation. We have 2 full-time guys here, Ben Van Hoosier and Justin Sissel, that work with us every day, just so I can spend time with customers. We spend time in livestock markets, a lot of time in livestock markets. We produce affidavits for all of our customers if they're going to be marketing on video somewhere or in a livestock market that has the genetic information about the bull battery that they've purchased from us. We also compile all the vaccination records. We compile any nutrition records, the date weaned, the age of those calves. We put all that on a single page affidavit and email that out to buyers that are interested in purchasing calves out of these genetics. We send that out to the livestock markets or the video market that's marketing their cattle so that they have that information. And so those are all the things in terms of feedback we spend. I mean, a lot of times we try and be sitting right next to our customer when they're marketing calves. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that's a big piece of the feedback. If it's the kill sheet that comes back when they harvested those cattle, if it's sale day at the livestock market or sale day at the video sale, we want to be a part of that. And at the end of the day, that's the piece of feedback that's most important to these customers is, are they making money? Did we help better their program and better their family?
Yeah, that customer service is the key in everything that we all do. I mean, if you don't have that good customer service and that good relationship with your clients, it's hard to keep them.
Yeah,
And getting that feedback, whether it's good or bad, you need both.
100%.
Because the only way to make your program better is receiving the bad and not doing that again.
That's right.
And that's neat that you reach out to them guys and ask them and gals and ask them, okay, did we meet your criteria? And if we didn't, okay, what did that look like, and what do we need to improve on? And
That's right.
that's how you get a long term relationship, and that's pretty neat to hear one say. I was going to ask the next question. I was going to ask was what makes Worthington stand out from the rest of the bull breeders out there, but you've answered a lot of that in just your customer service. I mean, you have the time and you spend the time reaching out to your customers, asking those questions, and really wanting the feedback, wanting to listen to them, not just talking to them, but listening to them as well. And that's tremendous in everything that we do. So
I think we learned a lot of that when I had the chance to work for Missouri Angus. I mean, it's kind of my job to listen to those breeders. What programs did they need? What did they need service from Missouri Angus Association to help them with? And so transitioning to this job, that just kind of came with the territory. What do you actually need? And if you listen, customers will tell you, and that's not unique to the cattle business. That's any business. If you listen to the customer, they'll tell you what they want. I mean, the big picture of the industry we're in, if we listen to the consumer, they've told us they want the highest quality product they can get. That's why demand is at a 40-year high and they're willing to pay for it. I mean, that's the neat thing. There's things I want that I'm not willing to pay for, but the consumer said, we want a really high quality product, a prime type product if we can get it. And by the way, we're willing to pay for it. And so we listen to that and then try and provide the tools for our customers to go out and create that product, then help them market that product, and they get rewarded. I told you when we started that our kind of the mantra that we lived by was discipline plus proven genetics created value. And as we've grown and matured in our program, we've kind of added the concept of that. And then it's our job to help you capture that value.
mhm.
We've built the nuts and bolts to create the value. Now we're going to dedicate every waking moment we have to helping you capture every bit of that value that these farmers and ranchers have went out and busted their tail every day. And I grew up in a small beef cattle operation where mom and dad were both working multiple jobs off the farm. And so I think about that as our customer. And when they come here and make a purchase, it's a big deal. I know it's a big deal to them. And so when they're marketing calves, whether they're taking 10 calves to the livestock market or 200 calves, or they're marketing 300 calves on video, it's a big deal to us because that's a big day for them. That's sale day. They've made an investment, Worthington Angus. We're
Mhm.
going to go get everything that we have to help them capture value in those genetics.
Yeah, and we do a lot of the same, just in a different aspect. So that's what we'll kind of talk on next is you do stream your bull sales on our online bidding platform. That is another way we bring customers your way and give you a lot broader scope of reaching different areas of the country where they don't have to be there on site. Um, how is that and why is that important to you?
Well, so we've always provided an online platform for our sales, and we had the opportunity to start utilizing live ag. We did immediately, and really that's a back to the people that we talk about. It's a
I was going to
people
bring
business.
Hannah up in a minute
It's
and
important.
kind of
That's right. So,
yeah.
the rep we'd always had, we wanted her to be here. Hannah's been a great piece of our program, right? The people who help us every day on sale day to help make our customers comfortable, that help go the extra mile to make sure they have everything they need. And in this scenario, on that online bidding platform, that's a relationship, and we don't want to lose that relationship. And so that was a fairly easy decision for us because of how important that type of customer service is, just as you mentioned. And we deliver cattle for free all over the United States. And so our online platform is very important to us because we take cattle to Oregon, we take cattle to Virginia, we take cattle to Wisconsin, we take cattle to Texas. And so a lot of those folks have become very comfortable with watching videos of these cattle. They know our program. We have built a relationship where they may not be able to be here on sale day, but they need a platform that they can get on, easily navigate, a platform that they trust, and a platform that serves us on the other end on sale day. And so that's been a good relationship for us. But to your point, again, all people, all customer service, and it is something we love to provide because it has broadened the customers that we can reach. We started this discussion talking about all the things we do with our kids, whether it's going to shows or chasing them to basketball games or
Yeah.
2 weekends ago, I spent 7 hours walking around with my 11-year-old competing in a squirrel hunt derby, right? So we never know what we're going to be doing with our kids. But my customers live that same life. They're
Yeah.
busy. And if they're 3 or 4 states away, or maybe they're just 30 minutes away, but they're at their kids' ball game on Saturday of our sale, and they're sitting in the stands bidding, buying bulls. That's a great service we can provide so they can continue to live their life and not miss those moments that you don't get back. And that's again, that was the exit strategy of why Worthington Angus exists. Is I didn't want to miss those moments, and if we can provide a platform so our customers don't miss those moments, that's a big deal to us.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, and Hannah's been really good to us, and I would suggest those that are on the fence out there reach out to Hannah or one of the team members and look into it.
Yeah, and I would follow up with that just to share the story. And I know this live ag podcast and we use live ag, but it's besides the point. It's a true. We've had pretty good internet service at our sales site. We've never really had an issue. My wife handles all of it. I don't have a clue what's going on. But shortly before the sale this last year, something happened. We weren't getting all the readings that we needed. Hannah's making calls. She's trying to get everything dug out of her suitcase. Margot shows up all of a sudden, and there's ladders up in the air. There's another receiver and antenna in the air, and we've got perfect power. And so the thought that all those people cared enough that it's a big day for us and they were going to do whatever they could to make sure that we were taken care of, you don't forget those moments.
Yeah, it shows livelihood, and that's what everybody's there for is to. I mean, that's your big day. I mean, we gotta do all we can to do to make that successful for y'all too, and just appreciate y'all giving us that opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, one other question I want to kind of touch on here. Um, what advice would you give? I mean, you started off in this deal as not being a Angus breeder, not a seed stock guy. So if there was a young person out there that's coming up through the ranks in college and going through one of the associations and they want to get started on something like this or want to have the chance to do so, I mean, it's a proven fact that it can be done. You do not have to be raised up in the breed to do it. You've done it. What kind of advice would you give them? I mean, what structure, kind of talk through
Yeah.
some of that.
It's funny you ask that question. It's FFA week for a lot of folks. I was actually just at a neighboring town in an FFA chapter yesterday, giving a little talk for one of their classes, and this is one of the questions that was asked, and it's a vital one. And I always kind of start the answer to a question like that by kind of prefacing what a lot of these young people have heard, and so you can stop me when I say something you haven't heard before, uh, but when we think about agriculture, people in the cattle business, farming and ranching, there's a lot of folks who kind of describe that as you work 365 days a year, 7 days a week, rain, snow, sun, and shine. You never get a vacation. You need to make sure you're up before all the rest of your neighbors. And don't let anybody ever think that you're making any money, because that's not good at all. You're barely getting by, and the only time you ever have money is when they cash in your assets at your funeral. And in the same breath, and in the very same sentence, I hear people follow statements like that up with, "I just don't know why the next generation's not coming back." Well, it's because they listen. They listen to us say that
Yeah.
forever, and I heard it too. But separate the profession that we're in of ranching. If you visit with any young people and describe that as your career and your job, that don't make money, work harder than everybody else, half the people you're serving thinks you're trying to kill them with the product you produce, all these things, I don't care if it's ranching or not, they're probably going to go, I don't know what that is, but
I'm going to
I'm
do that.
out.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the first thing we have to do, is change the narrative in farming and ranching. You can have a good family life. You can make a good living. If you want to take your kids to the Grand Canyon, take your kids to the Grand Canyon in the summer. If you want to follow your kid to the show in the summer, go do that. If you want to go to the baseball and basketball game, do that. Create that pathway. And oh yeah, you can still be engaged in farming and ranching, make a comfortable living. Does it take sacrifice in other places? It absolutely does. This is not necessarily an easy business, but anything where you're an entrepreneur or pursuing something as a first generation business of anything, whether it's an Angus breeder or not, it's going to come with some sacrifices. You have to pick which things you're not willing to sacrifice. And those are the things you just don't give up no matter what. But I start the conversations with young people like that, because I think we have to get young people wanting to come into this first, and then we can start having the discussion of how do we do it. The way we did it is not going to be for everybody. I
Right.
think the one thing that we did do that is probably for a lot of young people that are trying to get in the business, especially if you're not coming back to an established operation, is you're going to have to be creative. And it may not look the way you thought it was. We grew our operation the most and the most rapidly through a lot of embryo transfer work. We didn't have to own those cows. We had cooperator herds that were raising those embryo calves up till weaning time for us. We could go back then, purchase those calves at weaning. So it was kind of an installment plan for the purchases, right? And I didn't have to have all the land to house those cows that were raising the bulls that I needed to put in our sale. So I didn't necessarily see that on day one when we started, but that was one of the ways we found to kind of work through some of those things and grow. The other thing I would tell people, we were very laser focused on what we wanted to do. Our first sale, I built it backwards. I said, we've got to have between 45 and 50 bulls. I need at least 30 or 35 females. Okay, to get that, we need this many cows and this many embryos, this many years in advance of this date, because that's the exit day for Missouri Angus. We've got to have our sale 9 months after I leave Missouri Angus, because they're going to quit paying me when I leave them. And we only have so much reserve. So here's sale day. Here's how many lots it takes to pay the bills. Here's the pipeline we need to create that many lots. So it was just building the plan like that, and then staying laser focused on the plan. I didn't spend a lot of time trying to figure out, is this possible? I said, this has to be done. So let's get to doing that.
Let's do it.
And so I encourage young people, and I worked through it with a young man at this little neighboring town during FA week at a talk the other day. I said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want a ranch. I said, do you have a ranch to go back to yet? He goes, no. I said, does it feel like a big hill to climb? He goes, absolutely it does. And we kind of walked through it. If a guy was trying to jump into it full time and you had to buy the cows, the land, and the equipment. And, all of a sudden you were out 12, 15, $20 million to get to a 300 to 500 cow herd. And if you were starting from nothing, well, that's a big hill that would feel pretty impossible to climb. But then we paused and said, he has a job lined up or an opportunity for a job. He knows about how much he's going to make, what his bills are. And we kind of worked that budget backwards. Like, can you find 200 acres to lease? Yeah. Can you run about 60 cows in a rotational grazing system on that? Yeah. Here's your expenses on it. How much money you're going to profit. We laid that up for about 6 or 7 years. I said, now do you have the down payment to make on that first pretty good sized farm to head you in that direction? He just kind of looked at me like, oh yeah, we can do that. And so I don't mean to make light of it that it's that easy. It's not. It's a capital intensive business. It comes with sacrifices. I tell people all the time, if you're a first generation business person or an entrepreneur, it comes at a very, very great sacrifice, a high price that has nothing to do with money, and few people are willing to pay.
Exactly.
Members of our family paid it. My sons have paid it at times. But you have to understand that exists, put that aside, and say we're laser focused on right out here. What's the next step to get to the next piece in the puzzle, and then just keep building from there. And so when you lay it out like that, young people, if you hear nothing else, know you can get engaged in production agriculture. You can make a good living in production agriculture. You have a great opportunity to raise your family in production agriculture. And if you hear nothing else in this discussion with Ty, and I hope you hear that.
Yes, and love what you do.
That's right.
Man, I appreciate you coming on today. Go ahead and give us those dates. You got one coming here the end of March, correct?
Right. That's right. Our 11th annual spring sale will be March 28th. We'll have about 300 head. That'll be approximately 115 18 to 20-month-old bulls, and then we'll sell about another 50 or 60 registered females, and about 125 commercial bred heifers that have all been DNA tested and bred to our bulls. We have a lot of those fetal sexed and grouped up accordingly. Hopefully something for everybody, but we're looking forward to those bulls. Or like I said, I guess you guys kind of call them age advantage. We always sell 18, 20, 22-month-old type bulls in our sale, and just feel like we get along. We guarantee those bulls for a full year for people. And like I said, we deliver them for free. And so just trying to build a product that really goes out and serves our customer base that they can get the most good out of right away. So we'd certainly invite everybody to that again on March 28th. And it's right here at our farm in Dadeville. And we have a pre-sale dinner and educational forum the night before our sale. Have a certified Angus beef steak dinner. And so we invite everybody to come in, have a nice informative meeting for our customers, new and old, and gives them a chance to kind of preview the sale offering and join us for kind of a laid back evening.
Good deal, Josh. We sure appreciate you and appreciate your business, appreciate your time for being on here today and just kind of walking us through Worthington Angus. It's a pretty neat story, and I always like to visit with those that are self-made like that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in here to the We Live It podcast on all the social media platforms. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button there on all of those. And goodbye and God bless. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ty.